I have a hypothesis, and that's that I think most people today, deep down, feel that something, somewhere, is very, very wrong. And who could argue with that? Just look at the world today, it's a mess. On a bigger picture, I get it. The world is trying to restructure itself, and certain things have to break, and certain truths are sort of being revealed. And that's all good. But in the process, in the meantime, it's a mess. And in that mess, you are expected to become more. You're expected to grow, to become more and not less, right? You're expected to develop. It's tricky. How do you do it? Where do you start? I was on a call with a client last week, and that was a question I got asked. Where do I start? Everything seems to be calling my name. Everything seems to involve me somehow. Now, where do I start? How do I develop myself with this environment? That's one thing to always keep in mind. Personal development does not happen in the vacuum. It happens in the environment you're in. You can change the environment you're in, but you have to certainly acknowledge the environment that you are in. So in this environment that is more a mess than it is organized, and this feeling that something somewhere is really wrong, it can create a lot of anxiety, right? And all of a sudden, the person you're supposed to become, the person you're trying to become, sort of takes a back seat, and all the anxiety producing things become what's front and center. So the thing I had to I really wanted this guy to understand something, and I wasn't really getting him the way I wanted to get him. When you're coaching somebody, you always see it going one way, and then you want to push them down this line, but they push you down another line, and so bring it back. So this is one of those situations. I was trying to bring it back, and it's like, hey, this is all good, Angela, but practically, what do I need to do? How do I approach this whole thing? So here's a practical sort of approach to developing yourself, to becoming more and not less in this environment, right? That's really tricky to sort of navigate. It's critical thinking. Critical thinking, and it's a broad term. You can find different definitions for it. But critical thinking, practical critical thinking, the way I define it, the way I explained it to this guy, is 5 questions. 5 questions, right? What's going on? How am I involved? Does it matter? Where is it going? And how does it end? Those 5 questions. And if you spend, real, honest time asking yourself those 5 questions, going through those 5 questions, where you will end up is in a less distracted place, in a more focused space, in a more deliberate place, and you'll be surprised at the results and get you. So the first question, what's going on? When you ask yourself this question, right, what is going on? You really need to be very, answer the question like your life depended on it. Actually, better yet, answer the question like somebody you love, like their lives depended on it, like your kid or your parent, right? Answer a question like that. What is going on? Because that forces you, that degree of honesty will force you to really ask the question, to really find answers, different perspectives, right? Different opinions. What is going on from this perspective, from that perspective, from this dimension, from that dimension, right? Not just a surface, what is going on, because those are easy to cherry pick. What's going on? Oh, this is happening. Oh, I'll react. That's happening. Oh, I'll react. Wait a minute. What's going on? Really sort that question out. Honestly answer the question. Really take your time and answer that question. Then you move to the next question. How am I involved? Right? How am I involved? You know what's going on now. Now, how am I involved? Because what's going on may not even involve you. And the key to asking yourself, how am I involved? Again, dimensions. Which I do you mean? Because sometimes some things may be going on and they involve you, but they may involve the wrong version of you, right? They may be calling for the person you used to be. All of a sudden something happens, it triggers who you used to be 10 years ago, the person you sort of developed away from, right? That sort of anxious, desperate that insecure person that you were 5 years ago. This event, this thing that's going on may be calling for that person. Or it could be calling for who you're trying to become. Whatever's happening may be speaking to the person you're about to become, the person you want to become, the person you've planned to become, right? So which I is involved here? How am I involved? Figure that part out too. Again, honestly answer the question. How am I involved? Right? Next question. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. This is a very critical point. Doesn't matter, because the challenge there is it serious? I don't mean that. Everything is serious. You get old enough, everything is serious, right? Only sort of things that come at you are serious things. But it doesn't matter. And there's a difference between being serious and having the thing matter. It's serious, I know. Pay attention to it. I'm not saying don't pay attention to it, because it's serious. Pay attention to it, but doesn't matter. If it doesn't when it doesn't matter, it means it doesn't move you the same way. It doesn't force you. It doesn't sort of keep you oppressed in some emotional state. You're sitting up at night thinking about the whole thing. What he said, what she said, who stayed, who couldn't stay. Does it actually matter? I know you're thinking about it, but does it matter? And if you get to a point where you determine, hey, it doesn't matter, we can let it go. If it matters, okay, so now you know what's going on. You know how, you know if you're involved, how you're involved rather, and you know if it matters. Next question, where is it going? Right? Where is it going? Honestly answer that question, where is it going? This means really taking the time to sit back and sort of project, use your imagination, right? Develop a point of view. This is the key part. Develop a point of view of where it's going. Because if you have that point of view, you can go to somebody else, right? You can step back into your environment and sort of shop that point of view around. Maybe somebody adds something to it. Maybe somebody tests it and now you realize this really is a legit point of view. But you have to have a point of view. You can't just show up in a mess without a point of view, because all of a sudden you become part of that mess. Now everybody starts telling you what to do, how to think, where to do it. You have no opinion, you have no point of view. So then develop a point of view. Where is it going? And the last question, same thing. How does it end? Right? How does it end? Really think about the conclusion of it. Based on all these things you know, right? How does this thing end? And if you have some sort of an idea of how it ends or how it might end, you can begin to position yourself, right? You can position yourself. It's a different position to be in when you have some sense of what's coming, right? You have an ability to get into a better position or a more right position than just guessing or not even paying attention at all. So how does it end? Right? How does it end? Position yourself, prepare yourself. If you go through these sort of 5 questions, right, and really try to use that as a hedge against the mess, the anxiety producing stuff, you come out much more likely to be the person you want to be, to become the person you said you want to become, as opposed to being caught in a mess, stuck with other people's agendas, sort of tortured and directed by other people's agendas. You have to have your own agenda, and this sort of critical thinking, it not only does it help you, it gives you an agenda, but also helps you maintain the agenda you have and grow into the person you want to become. So that's the message I have for you guys. Again, it comes from that hypothesis of the feeling that I think most people are feeling this thing deep down, that something somewhere is really wrong. Is really wrong. They don't quite know what it is. They don't quite know where it's coming from, but it just doesn't feel right. And you can get bombarded with this sense of anxiety if you just walk around with that feeling all day, as opposed to saying, all right, well, how can I hedge? How can I sort of combat that thing? So use those 5 questions, right? You don't know what this is, but if it comes at me, 5 questions here, 5 questions there, 5 questions there, and you're much more likely to sort of succeed, to become the person you want to become, and to develop. Thank you. My name is Angelo, and I'm the motivator.